we also didn't think about, if we're talking about first round games, how much does Lane Kiffin and the play calling affect Ole Miss?
You know what? They keep talking down on Ole Miss. I think they're being over dramatic. Not saying that Lane Kiffin was not a big part of that team and their plan and all that, but I think Ole Miss is still going to be like 90% of what they were before, if not more. Like I think they're going to be fine. I think the players know exactly what it takes now. I think the coaching that's left behind, they know how Lane Kiffin did things. They know how to keep it, keep the momentum going, keep the wheel spinning. I think they're going to be fine, especially with that tune-up game that they had. They really got lucky with that because, um, let's say they had to play like A&M for right, then I think they might have had a tougher time. But like, they get a little tune-up game. They even have to play anybody real. Like they'll be fine.
Yeah, yeah. No, yeah, we'll see what happens. But like I said, I didn't just wanted to bring that up because I kind of forgot about that a little bit. But yeah, little Lane Kiffin moving on, which I think it's like I think like the best point I heard about the Lane Kiffin thing was from Josh Pate, and he said, I haven't heard anything wrong that anybody has said about Lane Kiffin leaving. And it's like, yeah, that's a very valid point, because it's like people are like, well, he shouldn't have had to decide when he did. Like, yeah, that's very valid. And it's like, because it's got put him between a rock and a hard place, because it's like he definitely, I think, deserves to coach the team in the playoffs and be able to leave after. I don't understand, which I think there's something they were talking like he had to, or like, I think that was it just the athletic director gave an ultimatum, or like what was that about? You know?
Can I butt in on that because I'm also very confused about what the process is when a coach gets hired at a new school during the current season because we're over here talking about how Ole Miss or excuse me, how Lane Kiffin left Ole Miss and Ole Miss is about to play in the playoff. Did you know that Tulane's coach who got hired by Florida is still going to coach Tulane in the playoff?
Yes, I did know that. Yes,
So
John Summerall or
why did,
something. Yeah, so it's like, so it
why did
can't be.
the coach get to
It ha
Lane Kiffin?
I think it must be up to the school,
I, I think
because
I think it must be because he's going to a team that's in the same conference. In Lane Kiffin's case, which I guess
yeah,
makes, but I just don't get that. Like, how come Lane Kiffin can't coach Ole Miss to the end, but Tulane's coach can? But I don't know. But
yeah, and I don't get why the athletic director was like, because I know Lane Kiffin made the announcement. He's like, I'll announce what I'm doing after the Egg Bowl. And then it was like, well, did Lane Kiffin make that decision, or was he given an ultimatum by the athletic director? Because I feel like if you're given an ultimatum, like, that's kind of messed up. Like, that's just like, I don't know, a little pressure to stay. So why, if you're Lane Kiffin, what reason do you have leaving Ole Miss after going 11-1? You brought the program back from like being, they were like at the level of like Kentucky's and Mississippi State's. You finally get Ole Miss back to 11-1 in the playoffs. A really good team, like a very solid team this year. The best team, probably like the most real team. Usually Ole Miss, like, or frauds, like you said in the earlier video, you call them Penn State, the Penn States of the SEC, which is absolutely true. Like, always have a really good regular season, but you know that they're never national championship caliber teams. But anyway, why leave Ole Miss to take the LSU job when you finally have a good Ole Miss team? I don't understand it, but I don't know. Maybe you can enlighten me.
no, I can't enlighten you, Tom, because I have the same question. Because okay, so this was a very interesting coaching cycle that we had during the season. We saw a lot of pretty big name jobs become available. Like Penn State and Florida and Arkansas and Auburn and teams like that. Like there's a lot of pretty good coaching jobs out there that were available at some point in time. When it comes to Lane Kiffin, he's already the head coach at Ole Miss. He's been there for 4 or 5 years, I believe, was going on. He had success beforehand. He had gone 10-2 and 8-4 and 9-3 and stuff like that. Like he was just on the edge of finally getting over that hump. This season, he finally gets over the hump, and now you leave just when you reach the promised land. I thought the entire goal of what you've been doing the past 5 years was to get to this point. Now that you're at this point, you walk out the door. So I'm already like, I don't understand it in that regard. But then, I would understand if you're like one of these group of six coaches that's going from South Florida to Auburn or North Texas to Oklahoma State or Tulane to Florida, like the Tulane coach. Are you really upgrading if you're Lane Kiffin? Like, okay, if LSU's paying you more, cool. A couple extra million in your pocket, that's fine. You're already a millionaire. Um, are you really upgrading school wise? Because last time I checked, Joe Burrow is not at LSU anymore. So Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase aren't there anymore. LSU just finished 7-5. They went like the same last year. Ever since that Joe Burrow national championship, they haven't really been super relevant. Well, Ole Miss,
Yeah, it was what Ed Orgeron had a bad season and then
yeah.
had got in trouble like with a scandal or something and then got fired and um
Then they went like nine
then
three with
Brian Kelly, yeah,
and 7
never,
year.
yeah, that never, the Brian Kelly era did not go well at LSU. So yeah, I mean,
I'm just confused.
they,
Like, are we really upgrading here? Like, Ole Miss is in a better place as a football program than LSU is right now. They have been for the last like 3 years. So why would you? It almost seems like a downgrade to me. Why would you leave Ole Miss to go to LSU? You're not even leaving the conference. You're not going to a better football program. I,
yeah,
I don't think you're going to be getting that many better recruits or that much better facilities or resources. Well, I don't really understand what the point is.
and he
You're
and he said it's not. He said it's not about the money, even though he's getting paid more money. But
right. So what is it about then? Is LSU just a better school than Ole Miss in your mind? I don't really understand that. Um, Especially when like, okay, I get that LSU was like the one big school in the entire state. That's cool. I mean, other than Mississippi State, who can't compete with you, it's just you in Mississippi. So like, what? I really don't understand what the intrigue is in going to LSU. I just don't. I really don't. So I don't know what his decisions were or his reasons for his decision were. But like, if it were me, unless you took the Penn State job, which I think might have been like a slight upgrade from Ole Miss, or perhaps nope. I don't think Florida was an upgrade. No. I mean, in this coaching cycle, I think really it was just the Penn State job that would have been like the only real upgrade. Other than that, I don't know why you would leave Ole Miss for any other school. I don't really see any glaring upgrades there. I don't know if you see any, Tom, but yeah, I'm pretty confused about it as well. I just don't get it, and I don't think Lane Kiffin has a better chance at winning a natty at LSU than he does right now. Like he's over here talking
yeah,
to go to LSU to win national championships. Are you? Um,
sir, you're 11-1 and ranked number 6 in the college football playoff right now. Like
right. Um,
talking about winning national championships, you're on one right now that could win, and you're leaving for a team like you said, who's been kind of Brian Kelly's kind of like he kind of spiraled out at LSU pretty bad, and like kind of like just like at like the program was kind of on fire there for a little bit, like he was blown up in press conferences. Like LSU's not in a good light right now. Like
Brian.
they're supposed to be good every year. I guess the only thing is I guess LSU usually gets more hype than Ole Miss. But even then, it's like if you're Ole Miss and you're going 11-1, it's only a matter of time before they give you some respect. Like
Right. And
I don't, I
Brian
don't know.
had Jaden Daniels. Brian Kelly had Jaden Daniels one year and still lost 3 games. So like, what? Unless you're Ed Orgeron, like you said, and just so happen to fall to have Joe Burrow, Justin Jefferson, and Jamar Chase at the same exact time on one team,
And
and
and what was it? Clyde Edwards-Helaire or something
Clyde Edwards-Helaire, they had Randy
like
Moss's son playing tight end. Like,
yeah,
coaching was not required for that.
yeah,
Could have just let them
just
go out and do their thing. Um, LSU since then has not even sniffed that kind of season they had that year. I don't understand what the intrigue is. I mean, LSU's great at baseball right now, but Lake Kiffin doesn't coach baseball, so yeah, I don't get it. Lane Kiffin's a weird dude anyway. I'm seeing all this weird stuff about him on Instagram about he talking to college girls, but he doesn't change his name when he's talking to them. So they're just taking pictures of his text and it just says Lane Kiffin on it. He's a weird dude, bro. He's a weird dude. I don't know, but good luck at LSU. I don't think it's going to turn out like you think it is. I don't see you winning any natties over there. So, and it'll be a real kick. It'll be a real kick in the balls if Ole Miss uh, end up having better success than he does after this move. So, but yeah, that's all I got to say about that. But I wouldn't trust Lane Kiffin for anything. When you want to hire him as your head coach, that's cool. Um, Based on how Brian Kelly ended, I don't think this one's going to end well either. So,
especially with like a character like Lane Kiffin. Like I feel like
right,
you know
track record, like
you're you're bringing on. It's like it's just a lot of drama that almost feels unnecessary. Like I guess don't get me wrong. Like LSU. Like Lane Kiffin's a good coach, and LSU is a historic. Like they all they're one of those teams where it's like they're never like an Alabama Georgia type of dynasty, but they have their little spurts of years where it's like they actually win national championships. So it's like it's a historic program, I guess. It's just I just don't understand the move from Ole Miss to LSU, other than I don't know, maybe he just wants a fresh start or something. I I couldn't tell you because I don't think like maybe there's something we don't know, but I feel like Lane Kiffin would have come out and said like if he asked the athletic director at Ole Miss, he was like if he comes out and he was like, well, I asked him for this and that, and he didn't give it to me. Like he didn't want to upgrade facilities or spend money on this or pay me more, like blah blah blah. Like if he came out and said that, I guess like then we would maybe know. But I don't. I almost wonder if he just left Ole Miss, like just didn't even consult them. Like I think like I wonder if the AD just was like make a decision, and then Lane Kiffin didn't come to them and was like, "This is what I need if you want me to stay. Otherwise, I'm leaving." Like I feel like he didn't do anything like that. He just left. But I don't know. Maybe that's just me. But because I think there would have been more like even if I was the AD, I'd come out and be like, he didn't even ask me for anything. He just left. Because I think that's kind of important. It's like, did he just leave because he just wanted to leave? Like, or was there like negotiations between him and Ole Miss that didn't go well? Well, I don't know. I don't like. I don't know. I don't get it. It's just it feels like a just unnecessary drama. But hey, I'm not Lane Kiffin, so I don't know.
I don't know either, Tom. And yeah, that was quite the storyline at the end of the season. But I hope that Ole Miss ends up, being able to be their own storyline outside of the Lane Kiffin drama, because those players earn a chance to play in the playoff, and they should not be overshadowed by what their coach does regarding to his coaching career and whatnot. So shout out to Ole Miss. I hope they play well, and I hope they go far in the playoff. Um, let's talk about the Heisman real quick, because I want to ask you, because I watched that Indiana Ohio State game like a lot of people did, and I saw basically, I think I saw the Heisman Trophy get wrapped up by Fernando Mendoza. Why? Well, it wasn't just because of how he played. It was also just because of the storyline. Like he already was the kind of Cinderella story. Well, Diego Pavia as well, but being at Indiana, going from Cal to Indiana as a transfer, and basically coming out of nowhere and becoming a Heisman favorite and uh, top 10 NFL draft pick according to some people, and then just the whole Indiana Curt Cignetti thing. I think he wrapped it up on Saturday night because if you watched that game, you saw how he got hurt on the very first possession. He almost got knocked out of the game. Like he got hit hard and he was down, like face down on the ground for like 5 minutes. He was not moving. And I think everybody's heart that was rooting for Indiana kind of sunk at the exact same time. We were all like, "Oh no!" We all started having Florida State Jordan Travis flashbacks. Like, "Oh man, we just saw the end of Indiana. Their season just went up in smoke." Well, nope. That boy comes back 2 plays later, and for the rest of the game is balling. That boy was balling out the rest of the game. I forgot what his stats was, but he had a great game, and of course, Indiana won. And I think he wrapped up the Heisman. I don't think there's much else to talk about. I mean, I think Diego Pavia, has a argument, but Diego Pavia didn't get to play in the conference championship game and get to show out like Fernando did. So Julian Sayin did not play well for Ohio State. He was the other Heisman contender on the other side. He did not play very well. So and he lost. So is it wrapped up? What do you think, Tom?
I mean, as far as the Heisman goes, honestly, I'm not super in tune with the Heisman, but yeah, I mean, I think you pretty much summed that up. It's definitely down between Diego and Fernando, and I don't know. I kind of wish Vanderbilt had another chance because I think Diego finished the season smoking hot. Like, I mean, that guy was balling. So again, a lot of the times though, these things come down to the recency and as much as people are like, well, conference championships don't matter, it's like, well, it kind of does when there's only, well, I guess you had Sayin for Ohio State, but he's not really like a big, like a real contender, in my opinion. I think it's mainly down between Mendoza and Pavia. And I mean, you can't tell me that playing during the conference championship week while your competition is sitting at home, it's like that. You can't tell me that the committee's not going to look at that because they'll be like, nah, we didn't look at it, but it's like, yeah, you definitely did. So, I think it's probably going to end up going to Indiana's quarterback Fernando, uh, and also I think it goes to him just because, like you said, the storyline. Indiana's never won the Big Ten championship. Um, Undefeated. I mean, that's got to be Indiana's first time going fully undefeated throughout the season. Just I don't know that for a fact, but it's got to be. So yeah, like you said, I mean, it's an individual award, but they also always take into account how the team does around you. Otherwise, Nebraska's running back, Emma Johnson, he should at least be invited to New York. I'm not saying he should win, but just based off numbers, it's like, well, he should be there if we're only going off numbers, but team success does also matter. So I think Mendoza gets the nod, but not that Pavia had a bad season. And it's one of those where it's like, if Mendoza was just kind of like had an average statistical year. I think Pavia deserves it because of his storyline being able to bring Vanderbilt basically out, rise them from the ashes, like out of nothing, all of a sudden put Vanderbilt on the map, and had really good games against really good teams all throughout the year in the SEC. So he definitely has a case, but yeah, also Mendoza had good games throughout the year against good Big Ten teams. So, but yeah, I don't know. It's unfortunate that I think Vanderbilt that didn't get in the playoffs, and I think Diego Pavia is probably not going to get the Heisman. But sometimes, it's just the way the cookie crumbles. I guess I feel bad for him, but at the same time, good for Mendoza because, like you said, he came out of nowhere from Cal, first year in Indiana. Like and just he's balling. So I don't know. That's my 2 cents.
Yeah, I feel bad for Diego and Vandy. They might be getting double shafted with no playoff and no Heisman. That would really suck. Hopefully they get a quality bowl game over there. At least consolation prize. Well, oh, by the way, consolation prize for Vandy. Even though they looks like they're going to be losing Diego this year, they went ahead and stole Georgia's 5-star quarterback commit. I don't know if you saw that, but a 5-star quarterback flipped from Georgia to Vanderbilt. So I guess they got a consolation prize there. So looks like the future is bright in Nashville. Um, what did I want to say? I wanted to talk about uh, the fact that Indiana. Actually, I saw the stat. I believe they have won Big Ten championships before. It was just during like the leather helmets days. So, we got to go back like, 70, 80 years to see the last time Indiana won a Big Ten championship in football. But shout out to them. Obviously, those trophies are good and dusty by now. So nice to get some new shiny hardware in that trophy case. Shout out to Indiana. Um, what else we have left for the playoff? Because I do want to talk about. I do want to go back to all the flaws and all the things that need to change over the offseason with the playoff because there's just so many things to talk about. But is there anything playoff specific left that you want to address, Tom?
No, I'm good.
You're good on that. How about we talk about what teams we think could actually win it all now that we see what the playoff field looks like. Like if you had a top three, because obviously we're going to see some great matchups, and we don't know who's going to win. Come semifinals and national championship and all that. But if you were to pick three teams out of the 12 that you think have the best shot to win it all, who would be your three teams right now?
My three best teams, I gotta give, obviously Ohio State is in there, Georgia, and I guess Indiana. I mean, as boring as that is, it's just that I think the top three are the most legit teams. Because I mean, if you want to go, like, we can go team by team here. Realistically, Indiana has proven themselves game by game, week after week. Ohio State, same thing, proven themselves game by game, week after week. Georgia, another team. It's like they don't have a bad loss. They had a couple close games win wise, but at the end of the season, I mean, you're winning. Like, you're winning the games. It's you're not losing. They might be close, but you find a way to win. And I think that translates and correlates no matter what the level of competition is. If at the end of the game you've had multiple experiences winning close games, then that just shows that you're a winning team. So that's why I say Georgia and Indiana, because those are both teams. Because Indiana had they beat Oregon and it was close, and then Oregon ends up being number 5, so that's a good win regardless. And then like a close win against Iowa, which again, I mean, if you want to look at that, Oregon also had a close game against Iowa, even closer than Indiana. So, and that's just Big Ten football in the fall. So when you look at those games, I think that if finding ways to win those games mean that you are a legit winner and a legit competitor. So if I had to pick three, those would be my top three. But excuse me. But I think there's definitely more than three teams that could win it this year because, I mean, Bama, they have the talent. They can go on a run. They can get hot. They can do that. But we've also seen them lose to the team that they're playing in the first round, Oklahoma. And then, it's like you get into Oklahoma. Oklahoma's basically the same story as Alabama. It's a week by week, game by game. You're just not sure what team is going to show up, what team you're going to get. Like, what if the Alabama team that lost to Florida State shows up against Oklahoma and Oklahoma beats them even worse than the first time? It's a possibility. Or vice versa. What if the Oklahoma team that couldn't score any points against Texas shows up and Alabama beats them by 15 or 20? Stuff like that where you're not sure what teams you're going to get there compared to Indiana, Ohio State, Georgia. I know what I'm going to get. So that's why they would be my top three. Ole Miss, like we've said a couple times already, they're the Penn State of the SEC. So they still need to show me that they're legit. And same thing with Texas A&M this year. After that loss to Texas, they showed that they're not invincible. They looked bulletproof all year up until they played Texas. And Miami's kind of, I think, has the mentality. It's like we're just we're just glad we made it. We kind of like they're almost at the mentality of like we didn't even think we were going to be here until all of a sudden they're there. And so they're going to be playing like, they're going to be coming out hot, like just a bat out of hell, just come out firing. So, and if you're Texas A&M, you're just coming off a loss. Like, where's your mental at? Like, what are they? Where's their locker room at? What are they thinking? Not exactly sure. So, that's why again, those teams I would say not in my top three. But also, like I said, like, are we going to get the bulletproof Texas A&M that we got the first 11 weeks of the season? Like, are we going to see them? And I do like the Texas A&M Miami matchup because not including Notre Dame, now we get to see the two teams who beat Notre Dame play against each other. So, and they were both close games, 1 point and 3 points, or two, I forget, 1 point or 3 point. Anyway, but both games were less than 3 points or less, I should say. So that'll be a fun one. But when you look at like the Ohio States again, like I think those teams are just a little bit better. But again, that's why we have the playoff now, because we get to find out. So, but those are my top three. I think Oregon also has a pretty legit chance. I think a lot of people are kind of sleeping on Oregon, but if you look at Oregon's draw, I think Oregon probably got the best draw of everybody being the 5 seed, which I think honestly from like just in the past, like the 5 seeds get usually have the best draw because you play the 12 seed and then you play the 4 seed. So you're playing the worst seed, the worst team in the playoff, and then you're playing the worst of the top four. So it's like I think Oregon has a good draw and a good chance to maybe make it to the Final Four because I think Oregon can definitely beat Texas Tech. Um, I think that'll be a good game, though. I don't think either Oregon or Texas Tech are like super dominant because like we've seen Texas Tech lose to Arizona State. Um, and Oregon lost to Indiana, but that was a close game. So Oregon has a really good resume, and Oregon's a really good team. So I think that they're rightfully at the 5 spot. But again, like last year, Oregon got the crappy end of the stick, and they had the bye week, and then Ohio State played Tennessee. So Ohio State had they kind of had their little warm up game, and then got to roll into Oregon, which I mean, you look at the NFL and you look at college in the past, sometimes bye weeks are not good for teams. It's just a fact. Like, I think last year there was like, Arizona State and
All the buys
Boise.
last year,
Yeah,
all of them.
Arizona State and Boise State. I don't those. I kind of give those a little asterisk on the bye week because I think they probably would have lost regardless of a bye week or not.
True.
But but
That
when
won't.
you look at history, I think like even in the NFL sometimes like you get a scrappy team and they don't get a bye week, but they're just like they're like an animal with rabies, they're just fighting, like just fighting for their life. And sometimes if they win those games, that helps them more than it helps the team that got the week off. Because the team that got the week off was just, kind of sitting back, got out of a rhythm, essentially. But sometimes teams are good enough, though, where that doesn't matter. But I'm just saying, I think in from what I've seen in the past, sometimes bye weeks hurt teams, especially if you're like a team that is like getting hot and like trying to keep on a rhythm and keep rolling. But sometimes a bye week is not good. So, but I think like if you're an Ohio State, I think sitting on that Indiana loss is going to help them in their bye week. But teams like Indiana are the teams that I would be worried about when they come to play a team like Alabama or Oklahoma. Because now you look at Alabama, Alabama has a chance to fix all the problems that they had against Georgia, against Oklahoma. Like Alabama's pissed off. If I was Oklahoma, like if I was if I was you respectfully, I'd be scared. Like Alabama is one of the last teams I would want to see in the first round of the playoffs,
We ain't scared
just
of
because
Alabama. 2-0.
I'm just saying because Oklahoma has already beaten Alabama. And I mean, I'm sure there's a stat somewhere out there where if a team when a team meets a team for the second time in the same season, usually the team that lost the first game wins the second game, especially if they're both good. Like it's just sometimes that's just how shit works, I guess. So I mean,
Hey, Georgia
like
three
uh,
times in a row. We can beat Bama 3 times in a row. Let's go, baby.
yes, yes, you can. You very well could.
Woo.
Yeah, and I'm not doubting you, but it's just
You know what?
we'll see what happens. This is why the playoff is great because now we get to there's no more hypotheticals. We get to see it.
We get to see it on the
So
field, and
yes.
I feel like you hyping up. I feel like you might be overvaluing Alabama coming into this game because yes, we know it's Bama. We know the name says Alabama, but like I said, the last 4 weeks Alabama has not looked great. They cannot run the ball to save their lives. If the passing game isn't working, they basically look like us on offense. They can't do much. The defense folds from time to time. We saw them get pushed over by Georgia in the SEC championship. Honestly, I think and I have to be real, include my team as well. I think Oklahoma and Alabama are two of the weakest teams in the bracket, other than the group of 6 teams. Like, take out James Madison, Tulane. I think Alabama, Oklahoma are two of the weakest teams in this playoff. Why? Because neither of us are complete teams right now. Obviously, Oklahoma struggles on offense. We cannot we cannot score 24 points to save our lives. So our defense has carried us to this point. Thank God for our defense. I've spent my whole life being an Oklahoma fan, never had a defense. We finally have a defense, so I'm not mad about that. It's just that that's the only way we can win. The only way we can win is if we hold the other team to less than 20 points. But it's possible though. We're here. We're here. So incomplete in that regard. Alabama, like I said, they can't run the ball. When the passing offense is not working, then the entire offense is just no good, as we saw for 3 quarters against Georgia. Just couldn't do anything. Defense is shaky. Kalen DeBoer, he be losing his mind on the sideline. Like he has. I think Kalen DeBoer is like the opposite of Nick Saban. Like Nick Saban. I mean, we saw Nick Saban blow up at times, but it was like, oh, okay, we know what he's doing though. Like, oh, Nick Saban get on that ass. Like, oh, somebody messed up. But Nick Saban used to be a very stoic coach. Like, you never really saw him you didn't see him get too emotional all the time. Kellen DeBoer be emotional, man. Like I be looking at the sideline, this man be crashing out on every other play. I'm like, bro, you need to get yourself under control because when it looks like you're not under control, that's when Alabama looks like they're not under control. Like when he's over there on the sideline, like yelling at the refs and freaking out and doing all this stuff, that's when Alabama will be playing bad. And I think he rubs off on his team the wrong way. I don't know, just something I notice when I'm watching them. But when Alabama plays bad, then he also looks bad. So they just look bad together. Um, I think these are two of the weakest teams in the bracket because neither of these teams are very complete. When you look at other teams that like, oh, offense good, defense good, special teams good, Indiana, Ohio State, Texas Tech, teams like that, Oregon. When I look at Alabama and Oklahoma, I don't think either of those teams are going to make it all the way because they just don't have the complete team that it takes to win 3 of these games in a row. We're gonna have to win in order to win a natty. So I actually think Indiana kind of got a decent draw compared to what Oregon got last year because Oregon, number one last year, had to play Ohio State or Tennessee. And that wasn't really fair for an undefeated team. And we saw what happened when Ohio State went in there and beat up on them. I think Indiana, I think this is probably the best team they could have got in the second round is Alabama or Oklahoma because if I'm Indiana, I'd rather face either one of those teams than A&M, Ole Miss, Oregon, maybe I would rather face Miami than Oklahoma or Alabama, but I think Miami's playing better on offense than either of those two teams. They could definitely score more points than either of those two teams. So who knows about Miami? But I think Indiana kind of got the best draw they probably could have got, other than playing a group of 16. But that's not going to happen for anybody. So in the second round at least. So I actually think Indiana's kind of sitting pretty right now. I mean, they're going to have a tough game either way, but I think it's a game that they could win because they know that they're the only complete team on the field. They know that whatever their defense is doing, their offense is better than whatever offense Oklahoma or Alabama is going to roll out is. So I think Indiana's actually kind of sitting good. And then to answer my earlier question about the top three teams, so if I had to pick three teams, because I do agree with you, the parity in college football has allowed it so that it could be up to like 8, 9, 10 teams this year that could win. I think any team other than the group of 6 has somewhat of a shot, including Miami and Oklahoma and Alabama. So that's really cool to see. We never really see that in college football. My top three: Ohio State, just because, of course, last year we've seen it before. They lost one game. We saw what happened last year when they lose one game right before the playoff. They show up angry, so we don't want to see that Ohio State from last year. So hopefully Indiana didn't do them like that and activate something inside of them. But of course the Buckeyes. And then I want to say Indiana because I can no longer doubt them. They have proved me wrong, and they have shown that they are the best team in the country. And if they continue to play how they're playing in all three phases, I don't see a better complete team than Indiana right now in offense, defense, and special teams combined. Like, I don't see any other team playing better than them in all three phases. So Indiana. And then my third team would be Oregon because, like you said, Oregon has a very good matchup in first round. Like this is literally going to be a tune-up game for them. It's going to be like a game where, okay, starters play the first half, second half the starters are on the bench. We're up by 50, and we're just letting our backups get ready, and everybody's just tuned up for the next game. They could literally win this game with their eyes closed. So Oregon's going to be fine. And then they get Texas Tech second round, which I agree. I think that is probably the best draw out of any team to go and play the number 4 seed. So that's a pretty good matchup for them. I think they could win that. And once you win that, you're in the semifinals. And then from there, it's up to you. But Oregon, like I said about Indiana, they are a very complete team. Offense, defense, special teams. They got it all their ducks in a row, no pun intended. One of the best coaches in college football. And I think Oregon is angry from last year. I think last year they were very upset about how their season ended, and they want to make good on that. So they're going to go further this year. I mean, they're going to win one game, one playoff game for sure. And then I think they could even go far. They could be like a Notre Dame did last year and go all the way. So watch out for Oregon. One team I do want to talk about, though, that I think no one is really talking about, like they're probably the least talked about team so far since we figured out what it's going to be. Texas Tech. I saw how Texas Tech beat BYU in that Big 12 championship. It was not close. That game was not close, not for 1 second. Texas Tech just absolutely little brothered BYU. Like they were just like patting them on the head, like, "Oh, that's cute." like, like the way Texas Tech played against BYU, I was like, oh, there's really no competition in their conference for them. Like BYU is supposed to be the second best team in the Big 12 and not even close. So really no one in the Big 12 can even touch Texas Tech this year. So now I'm like, okay, so they need SEC competition. They need Big 10 competition. And I'm excited to see what Texas Tech does against those teams because I think they're ready. That defense is for real. Like, I don't know if you went back and watched the highlights of that Big 12 championship, but that linebacker, not even the Rodriguez one that was supposed to win the Heisman, the other one, the Roberts linebacker, he literally had 2 interceptions. The second one, he snatched out of the air with one hand like he was Odell. He just said, "Thank you, cookies." He just snatched it out of the air like it was nothing. That defense is scary. Like, I would not want to see that defense at all if I was any team in this playoff because that Texas Tech defense is for real. That pass rush, those linebackers, even the back end is very good in coverage. Texas Tech might be an X factor in this playoff because if they keep playing like they did against BYU, they're going to be a tough team to beat for anybody. That goes for Indiana, Ohio State, all of them. Like Texas Tech is going to be a tough out, and I think they have a shot to make some noise. And I don't see anybody talking about them, but I think they could be a dark horse for this playoff structure. But what do you think about that, Tom?
Yeah, I like Texas Tech, and I also like Oregon. I think both are legit teams. But yeah, I mean that's all I got to say about that one for that episode.